Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Stochastic.com NFL Strategy Show, Week 2 Ownership Edition. This is a fun one because every week we get to take a first look at the ownership run, top stacks, and all that stuff, and draw some opinions from there. We'll also take a look to start off the show at what we got in Week 1, the Millie Maker winner. I actually pulled one. I pulled the Millie Maker, but I know a lot of us, myself included, love some of these single entry and 3-max. So I pulled a 300K, $75, so like a mid stakes, what was it, end zone for that as well, single entry contest. We'll take a look at that. Then we'll get into some ownership here and talk about the chalk, some good fades, maybe some good pivots as well. We'll go running back, quarterback, tight end, then close it out with running back, wide receiver, tight end. We'll close it out with quarterback because that's where we'll get into some stacks. So happy to have you guys with us. I'm Dave Loughran at Lafayette_D on the Twitters, LOUGHY_D. Sorry, on the X. Joined by Neil Orfield at Player QD. I will get this. Player Q DFS. What's up, man?
What's going on? Yeah, I forgot. I gave in on the Monday Night Football show to calling it the X. As long as you put the in front of it, I think I'm with you. It just sounds so much better than just calling it X. X just like, what does that mean?
X sucks.
The X just is kind of cool. So you've kind of sold me on it a little bit. I'm still confused. I listened to your show with Ben yesterday, and I like, what are we calling tweets now? Like all these different
posts,
things that we need to like. How do we adjust? I mean, that's what they call it. Posts, a repost instead of a it just doesn't sound. Like, how do you differentiate that from any other platform? Like Facebook, it's a Facebook post. Is it? I guess it's fine to use the same terminology, but I just wish they had never made the change. Twitter just was simple.
I agree. It stood out.
Yeah, you knew what you were talking about.
Yeah.
If you say I tweeted this, you know where to find it right away. No extra words needed. You say I posted this, you need to say I posted this on Instagram. I posted this on Facebook. It's just bad branding decision. What do I know about branding? But it seems like a bad branding decision.
Anyway, Neil, get ready to talk today. I had a hockey game at 10:30, got home after midnight, a little bit tired today. I say this once every few weeks whenever they give us these garbage games at 10:30. Not fun, man. My buddies and I went out for just a couple beers prior to it because otherwise we'd fall asleep. You wouldn't get there. So I was like, hey, you want to meet me? They're coming from Philly. They got like an hour drive. I'm 15 minutes away. They didn't get home till 1.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, my buddy gets up at like 5 every morning, so he probably got 3 hours. It's just miserable. I much respect for him, but we got to watch the Phillies lose in extras. Then we went on and took down a 6-1 win. Ooh. So I'm feeling fine, just a little tired. Got to do that picks for every game video for the Odd Shopper channel. Hopefully you guys will watch that. But let's get into this. First things first, though, hit that thumbs up if you haven't done so yet. Atone for your sins on a Wednesday morning helps us greatly. Subscribe to the channel. Help us get to 100K. That would be sick. That'd be sick. Been a long time coming, a lot of work, a lot of shows, a lot of hours. You guys will get us there for sure over the course of the season. And leave a comment down below if you're watching or listening after the fact. Last thing, our podcast. All of these shows go to podcasts, whether it's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever it is you listen, maybe some weird, obscure podcast platform. We, believe it or not, are there. And we got podcast exclusive stuff as well, like the single entry and 3-max contest. Ben Rasa and I keeping it to like 25 minutes yesterday, get in and out, all of that strategy. We hit the afternoon slate for Sunday on Friday, Greg Ehrenberg and myself. So not just do we have these shows, but we also have podcast exclusive episodes that we're keeping to 25, 30 minutes. Come check them out. I think you guys will like them. We've gotten a warm reception on that, so that's good to see. And if you ever have suggestions, recommendations, hit me up on the X and let me know. All right, you ready to do this, Neil?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, so first things first, let's get into a little bit of last week in review. I just want to go over a couple of these lineups with you because there are a few things that really stood out to me, right? The Millie Maker winner and the winning end zone lineup. Like I said, that was $300,000 prize pool, $75 entry. Great contest. But the one thing that really jumped off the page was, first of all, Tua was only 6% owned. That's wild.
Yeah. Surprising.
Right? 6% owned in both of those, by the way, single entry and in the Millie. Listen to these lineups. The Millie Maker winner was Tua, Eckler at 15%, Kenneth Walker at 10%, Ayuk at 6%, Ridley at 16%, Kendrick Bourne at 2%, Hayden Hurst at 3%, Tyreek at 24%, Commanders at 36%. Then the winning end zone lineup, that guy played, by the way, I think 6 lineups in the Millie. Winning single entry end zone lineup, Tua at 6, Eckler at 18, Brian Robinson at 11, Jefferson at 30, Hill at 31, Flowers at 10, Hurst at 3, Atwell at 3, Commanders at 45. So both of them went flat out chalk running back, right? Oh, I'm sorry, chalk defense. Nothing was crazy outside of them having the tight end and the flex spot with two low-owned guys. Hayden Hurst was the difference maker here, finished with 15 points. He was in both of those lineups. And then one had Kendrick Bourne, 2-touchdown game against the Eagles at 2%. The other had Tutu Atwell, 115-yard receiving game at 3%. These weren't crazy lineups at all. And they took down huge prize pools or huge prizes in week 1.
You don't need to get that crazy. Like typically, I think usually if you look at a Millie Maker lineup, there's going to be like 1 or 2 players under like 3% owned, but oftentimes you do see the chalk hit pretty well. It was an interesting week because it was so low scoring across the board. Just like so many of the big time teams didn't put up that many points. It was pretty wide open this week, and you needed Tyreek Hill. Like that was, I think, the one piece. And if you had Tyreek Hill with Brandon Ayuk, you were just so far ahead of the field right there. But
best receiver in the league.
No, that is ridiculous. Justin Jefferson is the best receiver in the league.
I would take Hill over Jefferson, no question.
Well, you're wrong. Hill is also like what, 31? How old is Tyreek Hill?
Yeah, did that matter?
Tyreek Hill is obviously very good. I'm also a Vikings
homer. This is the biggest homer take by you, because obviously Justin Jefferson's elite. If you were to be like Jefferson over Hill all day, no problem. Like I would go, yeah, sure, I get it.
Okay,
I get it. But you said it so emphatically that this came straight from subjective. This came straight from bias, Neil.
I mean, 100%. Yes, it did.
Yeah, I could,
when you're saying it's a huge homer take,
it's
100% a homer take. But I watched Justin Jefferson. He is just so good. He's like, I think he's a more talented receiver than Tyreek Hill, but he doesn't have the speed that Tyreek Hill has. So like Justin Jefferson doesn't have elite athleticism. He's just, I would say, the most like crisp, talented receiver in the league. Yes, I know that I'm biased. There are other guys you could throw. Stephon Diggs, I've seen an argue that Stephon Diggs might be the most talented receiver in the league if you take out the athleticism. Devonta Adams certainly in the conversation. But yeah, give me Jefferson. And Jefferson's also just, he's young. He's significantly younger than Tyreek Hill. So I'd rather
I'm talking like just now.
For
I'm
this
not talking
year, yeah.
about.
No, it's you can definitely make the argument that Tyreek Hill is. Jake Swales was saying it yesterday on the show. He was saying that Tyreek Hill is the most difficult to receive, difficult to cover receiver in the league. Yes, you can obviously make that argument. You can make the argument that he's the best receiver in the league. Yeah, but still, I'm happy with my guy Justin Jefferson.
I'm not saying you should be disappointed. Also, did you remember the clip of Tyreek Hill saying how he prepares for matchups against defenders?
No.
That he would go and log into Madden before the game and see what their player ratings were, and like
the defender.
Yeah, speed, agility, all this stuff. I don't know if he was serious. I feel like he might have been. But,
I mean, my guess would be that he was serious about it, that he actually does go check that stuff. That's really funny.
I'm just a huge Tyreek Hill fan too, so maybe there's some personal bias. I just think he's that good. Like the guy is.
He's fun.
I think I said this to Ben. I know I tweeted it, but I was like, when Tyreek Hill said that he's going to be the first receiver with 2,000 yards, I went, yeah, probably. Like at no point that I think that was some goofy, every year a player has some type of the milestone that they want to hit. And usually they come nowhere remotely close. They just have like a horrible season. CJ2K said he was going to have back-to-back 2,000 yards. He was not even close the next year. There's a lot of these guys, but
sure.
Yeah. Answer the poll. All right. So yeah, but isn't that interesting to see those lineups where I look at both of those lineups, and in both of them I go, man, those are not, you know what I said to myself? I went, I wish I made those.
They're great. They're great.
That's
lineups.
how it felt.
There's no part of those lineups that like were off the wall. Like Kendrick Bourne. I talked about Kendrick Bourne on, I think, every show I was on last week. And it wasn't like didn't feel like a slam dunk play, but like he was presumably the Patriots wide receiver one. Of course, I also thought Juju Smith-Schuster was going to be missing the game. He ended up there. That was the weirdest thing. They like earlier in the week, they're like, yeah, Juju Smith-Schuster's knee looks like it might blow up any minute. And then he was just fine. He was playing the game. Maybe I need to reread those reports, but I was thinking he was going to be out all week. Turned out he played, but Kendrick Bourne just looked like the wide receiver, was utilized as the wide receiver one last week. Will be interesting to see whether that holds up throughout the season. But yeah, there was no part of those lineups that like didn't make sense. We had Cooper Kupp out, so I don't remember if you said Tutu Atwell or Puka Nakua. One of them was in
It was Atwell.
Atwell, but it could have been either one. Like, yeah, if you
Yep.
want to take a dart throw on any of these Rams receivers, it made sense. Yeah, there was no part of those lineups that didn't make sense. It is interesting to see that Washington, the Commanders defense being in both of those lineups, like they were not the best defense of the week, but they were just so like they were like 36% owned. So it made, so they were just more likely to be in the lineup. But it's, in a field that size, it still was kind of surprising to me that they ended up being in the winning lineup, despite not being like the best defense by any stretch.
Last thing on this too. We don't talk about stars and scrubs lineups very often in the NFL, but this single entry lineup had Jefferson and Tyreek Hill and Austin Eckler.
Right.
Look at the price. Look at the other guys around them. Commanders, cheap defense. Atwell, cheap. Hurst, cheap. Flowers was pretty cheap. Brian Robinson was a discount running back. He got all of those guys. He got Eckler, Jefferson, Tyreek Hill, and Tua. Pretty impressive stuff, I must say. And I love the Eckler run back without the pass catchers too. I like that a lot.
Yeah, in a chalk game especially.
We can get into that too, because under Kellen Moore, the Chargers ran the ball a lot more.
Yeah.
32 combined rushing attempts for Eckler, who has an ankle injury, and Joshua Kelly, 53% run play percentage, which was like 5th highest in football. Last year, they threw the ball at the 2nd highest clip in the league. So pay attention to that. That's going to be real interesting to pay attention to going forward. Let's get into some running backs here. Appreciate you guys who have hit that thumbs up. Let's get us to 50 out of the gate and make this happen. We have Pollard at 16%. Look, they're big favorites. That Jets defense scares me a little bit. From an efficiency standpoint, I think Pollard could struggle. From a volume standpoint, I think he's probably fine. If he's the chalkiest running back on this slate or one of them, I'm not sure I want to get there. You have Jacobs against Buffalo as 8.5-point dog, 16%. Granted, this ownership is going to be a lot clearer and iron itself out as the week goes on. It's Wednesday. This is the first run. McCaffrey at 15% as huge favorites. So a lot of these guys are just big favorites at the top when it comes to ownership this week.
Yeah, it's really interesting. It's hard so I feel like I've always been like instinctively I'm right there with you with Tony Pollard being like, yeah, Tony Pollard at 16% against this Jets defense, not somewhere I instinctively want to go. I've learned to trust the tools more and more though, and we have him with a 19% chance of being optimal here. So I think that is the argument for playing Tony Pollard. Just 16% ownership, 19% chance of being optimal. That, and of course he's just a great running back who's getting volume. Yeah, definitely scared of the Jets defense, but I think ultimately you just kind of have to trust that there is positive leverage there. I don't think that his ownership is going to come in much higher than the 16% we're projecting for right now. And we have him with positive leverage despite the tough matchup. So I think I'm going to be playing some Tony Pollard. Definitely not a comfortable click against this Jets defense, but just trusting the tools more and more over the years. They've done me well. So I think as of right now, if these numbers hold, which of course we're talking on Wednesday morning, I'm going to be double checking on Sunday morning. I make my lineups as late as possible. Very real chance of this change. But if this does hold, where he's just looking a little bit underowned in the tools, I mean, he's certainly got the volume. He's got the talent. So I would be willing to play Tony Pollard if these numbers hold. We'll have to wait and see. McCaffrey, man, I couldn't believe how much they played McCaffrey last week. Like I thought he was going to be Elijah Mitchell was going to mix in more than he did, but McCaffrey just had elite usage last week. And if that holds up in this San Francisco offense, he is just going to crush all year. The price tag holds him back a little bit, but 15% ownership, 19% chance of being optimal looks pretty great here. So yeah, I think that we can pay up for these top running backs if we really need to. Of course, we'll talk about some cheaper guys that might make sense this week too. But I do think, yeah, these guys very much in play. Eckler, we actually have a little bit of negative leverage right now. And as you said, he's got an ankle injury. I guess we can kind of wait and see on Eckler. Obviously, Josh Kelly is going to look pretty interesting if Eckler is out. But yeah, I mean, I don't know what to do with Bijan. That whole situation is very strange to me. They ran the ball so much. They have talented running backs, but are they really going to use Tyler Algier as much as they did this week? I don't know. I don't know what to expect there.
I absolutely think they will. Yeah.
You think so?
Why? What? This team wants to run the football. Ritter threw 18 times last game, which
yeah, they should want to run the football.
50% of those targets went to the running backs. The only wide receiver to have a reception was Mac Hollins. Now, I don't think that that's sustainable. Like, you have to
No.
get Drake London and Pitts more involved for sure. But yeah, I absolutely think they're going to run the football a lot this week. I also anticipated being a case where the Packers have to prove that this run defense can stand up. The Bears went away from the run defense last week because they were forced to start throwing as they went down early. This Atlanta team has a much better offensive line. Tyler Algier had 3 goal line carries last week. That was 3rd in the league behind Pollard and Eckler. Bijan Robinson was certainly involved, out-targeted him 6-3. But yeah, I think you're going to see a relatively clean split with these guys. Tyler Algier is a pretty good running back, and they have 2 guys now that can absolutely dominate in that backfield.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. They're going to be running a ton through. I still don't think Tyler Algier is going to have any other weeks this year where he matches his point total this past week. I don't think that's a hot take. Like, he's never going to get to 24 fantasy points again this season. What do you think of that take?
I disagree.
All right, then it's a hot take. I'm sticking with it.
Well, I'm saying, like, what? Okay, so he got 3 goal line carries.
Yeah.
Bijan Robinson didn't get any. Bijan had a touchdown inside the 10. I think it was like, what, 8 or 9. You guys can correct me. A lot of stuff going on in my head. I can't remember off the top. It was a reception, which is great. But like, Algier was the goal line back in that game. He had 15 carries. He averaged 5 yards per attempt. I'm yet to be convinced that this is a scenario where they're like, hey, we're just using this guy to work Robinson into the mix, and then he's going to completely take over. Until Algier starts not being efficient or productive, I'm not sure why you wouldn't want to keep giving this guy work.
So I'm not saying he's not going to get the ball. I'm saying from a fantasy standpoint, I don't think he gets, because I don't think the Falcons offense is going to be very good, or I don't think the Falcons are going to be very good in general. So I don't know why, like, you can't really expect Algier to have that many goal line opportunities throughout the year. I think it's also, I mean, that's just a high point total. Scoring 24 fantasy points, was targeted, I believe, 17 times all of last year. He had three receptions in week 1, so used a little bit more in the passing game too. I'm with you. Like, I do think that they're going to use Algier. I didn't understand the Bijan Robinson pick when it happened, because I thought Algier was good, efficient last year. I'm just saying 24 fantasy points for a guy who is, the RB, I'd say 1B at best. I just don't think that that's realistically going to happen all that often. I could be completely wrong. I don't really believe in the Falcons offense, and I don't think you could expect the RB 1B on a bad offense to score 24 points too many times. Maybe we'll have 1 or 2 more times this season where he gets close, but I think that's the highest total he has all year.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly could be, but like 100 yards and a touchdown plus 2 receptions for 15 yards or whatever is getting you there on DraftKings.
Yeah, I suppose if he gets that 100-yard bonus, that would certainly help a lot. That, that's you get that bonus, that's already half of a touchdown there. So it's a hot take. I guess looking at chat, it appears to be a hot take that is going to be Algier's highest point total. Maybe I'm also wish casting a little bit because I didn't draft a ton of Algier in best ball. He was one of those guys that was just like in that range where he was always went 10 picks ahead of where I wanted to take him. But man, I don't know. And then I was also, of course, that was the pick that I felt worst about this week. So on the strategy show with Greg, somebody asked about Algier, and I was like, I don't think I would play him. 5,400 second running back on a team that isn't expected to score that many points. To me, it was like not a play that I was even considering. And then he smashed at 0.6% ownership. So I hope whoever brought him up in chat played Algier last week. But man, I don't know. I feel like we're asking a lot for Algier to do much going forward.
I think the reason we probably differ is because I don't think the Falcons are going to be a bad team this year.
You don't think so?
Not really.
How many games do you think they win?
I think they're probably a solid 500 team. Well, it can't be 500 anymore, but it's, first of all, it's not a very good division.
True.
They bring in Jesse Bates, who immediately had a huge impact. They finally started to get some pressure in that last game. This is a team that, if any Falcons fans out there in the chat or watching, like, they never got pressure ever. And finally, in the second half of that Carolina game, things started to gel. They brought in some decent free agent acquisitions. They still got some guys that aren't back yet in the defense. I think this defense will be better. And if the defense is better, then you really can rely on a 55% run play, because they ran at 55% last year, second highest in the league behind the Bears. If that's the case, then this is one of those teams that's going to just stick opponents in the mud and grind out low scoring games. I don't think they're going to be explosive, but I think they're going to be significantly better than they were last season.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I think that they're going to be definitely a run heavy team. They're going to run the ball all year, I would guess. I would take the under on 8 wins for the Falcons, but you're right. Like, it wouldn't be by much. About around 800 is probably about right for the Falcons. So yeah, maybe he's going to be used. I also think like Bijan is just, I still think Bijan is probably the more talented back. So I would expect him to have a little bit more of the workload throughout the year, but I could be completely, as I said, I think Algier is talented. Like they used him a lot last year. He worked out. I didn't understand the pick given how good he was last year. But I think Bijan probably takes on more of the offensive role throughout the year.
Yeah. And Rand said Aaron Jones was no brainer play of week 1, not hardly mentioned. Appreciate you, chat. Yeah, I mentioned Aaron Jones, I think, on every show.
Me too. I loved Aaron Jones this week.
Yeah. I mean, look, you need to use guys like Aaron Jones. Plus, I had some higher hopes for AJ Dillon back, in his second year, just assuming that he would get a lot of that work where he would just drill through the opposing defensive line. He stunk again. He had like 19 yards on 13 attempts. I have no idea if Aaron Jones plays this week. I think they might be downplaying this hammy a little bit. Wouldn't be shocked if he misses.
Yeah.
But no, Aaron Jones is sick. He's so good. I will say though, of all of these higher priced guys that are getting ownership, I love Saquon Barkley this week. The obvious problem is that Daniel Jones was under pressure more than any other quarterback in the league last week, under pressure on 28 dropbacks. It was like 60% or something insane. But that was also the Dallas Cowboys pass rush. This Arizona team, there is really nothing to fear here or with Arizona defensively. Forget about what you saw with the Commanders. That offense, I mean, it's Sam Howell. Just say what you want. I think there's a bounce back here for the Giants. I think Barkley gets a shit ton of work, and I really do like him at this price point. There's no concerns about being vultured here at all. And you can say that for obviously Pollard and Jacobs and McCaffrey. Elijah Moore only saw 5 carries and 1 target. McCaffrey played like 88% of snaps in a blowout, but I do like Barkley a lot at where we've got him 13%.
Yeah, love the matchup with the Cardinals. And another maybe hot take for me is I think the Giants are going to be fine. I kind of think that was just a fluky game, and I don't remember if you and I talked about this on the Monday show, but I think it was raining out. They just got behind. The Dallas defense was just terrifying. I think that they were just out of sorts all game. I think they'll sort themselves out and they'll be fine. But yeah, this week against the Cardinals, I would expect them to be pretty run heavy, and it's a pretty nice matchup for Saquon Barkley. So I'm with you. The price tag 8,000 does not scare me away from Saquon Barkley at all. I think the Giants are going to win this game pretty easily, and we have Barkley at 13% ownership, slight negative leverage there, but that's not going to scare me off of Saquon Barkley. He's just going to have such a huge role, I think, this year that when they're in good matchups, yeah, I think Saquon Barkley looks like one of the top plays. He's definitely one of my favorite of the high priced options this week.
JM said Dallas isn't that good and New York isn't that bad. Totally agree. Yeah, right. Like that, you run that game back 100 times, 1,000 times. You're not getting these 40-0 scores all that often. It was a weird game. But they got to protect Jones. They can't protect. I think. Right. Saquon, and guys, keep in mind that if you're looking at that game from like, oh, well, what are they going to do going forward? They got down so early that they couldn't run the football. If Arizona goes up 21-0 or 21-3 or whatever, then come back and we can talk. But I have a tough time believing that's going to be the case. I think the game script definitely favors Barkley in this game, which is why I really like him. Another question in chat, since we're talking running backs, was from, where is it? Andrew Martinez. So is Zach Moss a smash play if he suits up this week? I wouldn't say he's a smash play, but I think he clearly takes over as the number 1 running back with Taylor out. Evan Hull hurt his knee, 5th-round rookie, so he's out. Deion Jackson had one of the worst running back performances that a running back will ever have in the National Football League. I think if Zach Moss is good, and mind you, this was a hand, not like a lower body or an ACL or anything like that. I think he comes back and isn't limited.
Yeah, I mean, I would expect the same. I would expect him to get the bulk right away. Man, looking at the stat line for Deion Jackson, I had not actually realized how bad Deion Jackson was. 13 carries for 14 yards. That is elite efficiency right there. Yeah, I think Zach Moss, you're probably right that he's the lead back. I don't know that he is going to be a smash play in week one. As you said, I think it's who knows? It could still be a committee. It's a pretty wide open spot there. Nice matchup with the Texans. So I guess the Colts, whatever running back you want to play, has that going for them. What is the price tag on Zach Moss? Let me find him here. Like if he's 4,000, I'd obviously be a lot more inclined to play him than if
I think
he's
he's around like
5,400.
4,800 or something.
Yeah, so I mean, I think that he's 4,700 looks like certainly in play, but definitely not a smash play.
Rashad White's at 12%. I do have some interest there against this Chicago defense.
Yeah,
James Cook at 10%. No issues with that. 8.5-point favorites. I actually thought that he was good last game. The numbers won't bear that out, but that Jets defense absolutely swarms the ball.
Yeah.
I thought he was good. I really did. I thought he made a lot out of nothing. ETN at 10%. That's an interesting one. 51-point total, highest on the day. Tank Bigsby getting those 2 goal line carries, being down 21-17 in the fourth, did not sit well with me though. And then there's Mixon at 10% too. Yeah, so there's a lot of guys at 10+% ownership. Montgomery at 14. If you were to if there were a few of these guys that you really like and some of them you think you'll have less of this early in the week, who would it be?
So I like the James Cook call. I think that it's a great match. It goes from like one of the worst possible matchups you could have to one of the best. He's only 6,200. Sorry, wait, he's 6,100. Great spot for James Cook. So definitely with you there. We actually see some positive leverage in the tools. 10% project ownership, 12% chance of being optimal. So really do like James Cook here. ETN actually like had pretty strong usage last week, even though he did lose out on that goal line touchdown to Tank Bigsby. I thought it was an encouraging pattern for ETN to expect him to get a good amount of work next week. So I do like ETN here. Trying to think if there are any like major fades for me. Let's see. I don't really want to fade. I like Josh Jacobs. I feel like even though it's, obviously not a great game script for a running back, I think that he's going to have elite usage all year. So I wouldn't say that Josh Jacobs is a fade.
And the Bills got gashed on some big run plays last against with Breece Hall too.
That's a good point. Yeah, man, that one run from Breece Hall, I can't believe it wasn't a touchdown. But
so how I've said for a while that I think this is all personal opinion, right? We talked about Hill and Jefferson. I think Nick Chubb's the best pure rusher in the league. I would take Nick Chubb. I love Derrick Henry, but I would still take Nick Chubb over him. Breece Hall might be that guy that we're saying by the end of this year is the best running back in the league. That sounds crazy, right? Like on the ground, yeah, you have so many good running backs, but this guy, first of all, with Zach Wilson under center, second of all, and I'm not playing him this week against Dallas.
Good.
Not at that price point. I just think Breece is the guy's first game off an ACL tear that he suffered in week 7 of last week. It wasn't even week 1. It was week 7, right? And comes back and immediately, and you could be like, oh, they opened up holes for him. Look at that 80-yard run. He tripped coming across the line over a defender or one of his own guys, just immediately rebalances. His balance, his vision, everything about him is so good. He's so good.
No, he looked great in that game. I think people are having some regrets about where they're taking him in best ball this year. Like after Dalvin Cook got signed, people were taking Breece Hall in like the late 4th, early 5th round sometimes. I think with the talent, I think he looks great. Of course, we do still have the split concerns with Dalvin Cook. I think Dalvin Cook is going to be used pretty heavily all year as well. So I don't think that he's going to be like a bell cow back, but yeah, he showed that like he has the talent. It doesn't necessarily matter when you're as explosive as Breece Hall looked in that game. He can do it on 12 carries a game. So I'm with you. He looked pretty great there. What do you think of Derrick Henry? I think I actually like Derrick Henry this week. I think he's going to get pretty low usage. I know week 1, like he wasn't used as much as you would have hoped for with Derrick Henry, but I think Mike Vrabel is a smart coach. I think the smart thing to do for the Titans would be just run the ball against this Chargers defense all game. They want to slow the game down because the Chargers are the better team. So I think that Derrick Henry is going to have elite usage this week and in a smash spot. So I think I'm in there. How do you feel about that one?
Marcos, Breece has enough speed to break off like 60, 70, 80-yard runs. He's not the fastest in the league, but he could break away.
I mean, we just saw that.
Yeah. Yeah. Who'd you ask me about? Derrick Henry?
Derrick Henry.
Look, do you love that Tajay Spears had played more snaps than Henry in week one?
You don't.
No, but I'm not too concerned about that, honestly. Like, I think Henry's still going to get a huge workload. At this point, it's just a matter of if I have to prioritize these guys, who am I going with? And I would still take Barkley over Henry. That's that. I think that's what I'm coming down to. Is I have no issues with Henry at all, but he's 7,400. Pollard 7,500. Tough matchup, but big favorite. Barkley at 8K. Jacobs at 7,100. There's no other running back in that backfield getting any opportunities. The same can be said for Saquon Barkley. So that's the only thing. Like Derrick Henry at 74, I think is fine, but you need him to dominate on the ground. You need him to find the end zone probably twice.
I think what I'm learning is I'm probably paying up at running back a good amount this week because I'm just looking at all of these because I'm with you. Like I love the spot for Barkley, but I don't know that I love it better than the spot for Derrick Henry. We do have some negative leverage on Derrick Henry. So as I said, I've been trusting the tools more and more over the years, and the tools actually have Derrick Henry with negative leverage. But I still think that that's a spot that I'm still willing to get there. I think that it could be a smash spot for Derrick Henry. I think that he could get much more usage than he had last week, but we'll see. Maybe they just believe in Tajay Spears' talent enough that Derrick Henry is really not going to be the bell cow going forward. And maybe they also, with Vrabel being a smart coach, maybe he also recognizes he's got a lot of mileage, Derrick Henry. So maybe it makes sense, even if you're trying to, you run the ball a lot to use the spry young guy more than the old, like rather than giving it to the old guy 80% of the time. But nice spot for Derrick Henry at the very least. But yeah, I'm looking at this, like there are so many of these high priced running backs that I like for various reasons. Like Tony Pollard, we hate the matchup, but the price tag is right on Tony Pollard. The ownership that we're projecting him for is reasonable. It's hard for me to really say that there's any one of these guys at the top who I like am fading at all. I think that all these guys are very much in play for me. Are there any big fades for you at the top?
If Pollard's the highest owned running back, I'll probably be on their weight there.
Yes. Is that where we have him? Yeah, he is currently our highest owned. That's interesting.
I think on volume alone, he's going to be fine. Don't get me wrong. I think on volume alone, Tony Pollard will be totally fine. That's all it comes down to. But there's a lot of running backs I really like. There's running backs I like in the 6K range too. I mentioned James Cook, I think against Vegas is a huge favorite. Hey, the week one taught us a lot. It's not going to teach you everything, and you have to follow week to week what these teams are doing. But Damian Harris and Latavius Murray, completely uninvolved for the most part. This was James Cook's backfield. And that's what we thought could happen in a spot like this. James Conner, you can do what you want with him. If he's popular, I'm off of him. Right now, we have him pretty popular. I was hoping he'd be lower owned. Kenneth Walker at 5,800. I think that's a phenomenal spot against Detroit. Detroit's defense sure looked a lot better than we've seen in the past, but Kenneth Walker was clearly the bell cow, averaged over 5 yards per attempt, even though they got smoked in week one. I think Pacheco is completely fine. Those type of guys. So I intend on paying up, but there's a few guys in that 5K range that I'll get to. And if Zach Moss plays, I do think it's entirely possible. Mind you, he's facing Houston, whose run defense has been absolutely shit on. And I'm not sure how big of a difference it's going to make this year. I would take some Zach Moss. I know there's some conflicting thoughts in chat, but yeah, if Zach Moss is in, I think it's totally possible that he could get the lion's share of work there after how bad Deion Jackson was.
Yeah, obviously Deion Jackson was fine as a starter last year, so it is a small sample size. But yeah, I would guess Zach Moss is at the very least splitting carries right away. One situation that I'm interested to hear your thoughts on these Lions running backs, Jahmyr Gibbs versus David Montgomery. We have Gibbs actually more expensive. He's 6,300. David Montgomery at 5,800. We saw David Montgomery get a lot more usage last week, but Jahmyr Gibbs looked better to me. But we are getting David Montgomery at 14% ownership versus Jahmyr Gibbs at 3%. I kind of think both are interesting in their own ways. The Lions have a 26.25 implied team total, one of the highest on the board against the Seahawks defense. I kind of think both are sort of in play. What do you think about the Lions running backs?
Your eyes didn't deceive you. Jahmyr Gibbs was the better running back. I mentioned it yesterday with Ben, but he had 6 missed tackles forced on 7. That was the most of any running back in the league in week one, and he only had 7 carries. Right. So yeah, he's awesome. And you saw those couple receptions, how explosive he is. He's awesome. But I I'm not necessarily sure how to figure this backfield out right now. Do I think it's entirely possible that David Montgomery doesn't end up seeing, what was it, like 78% of snaps, 79% of snaps to Jahmyr Gibbs 27? I would certainly hope so. I mean, you would
They'll
think.
even that out for sure. There's no way they keep using Jahmyr Gibbs so little.
Yeah, I just don't know when it evens out is the question. Like, Gibbs is 6,300. I don't think I want to pay 60, as good as he is and can be. I don't want to pay 6,300 for a guy that had 9 touches last game and might only see 11 in this game.
I get so my counterpoint would be, he, like, we saw the same thing. He looked so much better than David Montgomery. They're going to watch the tape. Maybe they see the same thing. I mean, they've seen him in practice. They know what they have there, but 3% ownership is the reason that I think he's at the very least interesting. If he was getting 10% ownership, I would say he's a full fade, but if they do just decide, okay, let's use our rookie. We eased him in. He looked great in game 1. Maybe we make him the featured back this week. And even if they don't, like, if he does get 11 touches, he's got the PPR upside. He's got the explosiveness to break off a 60-yarder. I think there are ways for him to get there. So I don't think that he is a safe play by any means. Clearly David Montgomery is likely to get more of the workload once again. He was good enough last week, but we all saw the same thing. The coaches see the same thing. Jahmyr Gibbs is the better back, and he's getting very little ownership, and he's an explosive player. So I think that those are the arguments. Like, Jahmyr Gibbs could get the 100-yard bonus and a touchdown even with 11 touches. And I think that would be enough.
Certainly possible. But I would assume that David Montgomery's still going to clearly be the goal line back.
Yeah, I mean, that is always a concern. But the nice thing with explosive running backs is he doesn't, he could score touchdowns from the 20-yard line. Like, we don't need him to necessarily get the goal line work. Obviously, it's a bonus to get the goal line opportunities, but he can score touchdowns even without them when you're as explosive as Jahmyr Gibbs is. So I understand the hesitation. My only counterpoint is he's getting really low ownership and certainly has that explosiveness to pay off in a big way.
I get it. Yeah. And against the Seattle defense that was trounced last game too. So yeah.
I know you don't like the talent, but would you play AJ Dillon, or would you consider him if Aaron Jones is out?
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Kind of have to, I guess. Yeah. Fine matchup. Falcons, not the best matchup in the world, like it has been in some past years, but fine matchup. And if he is the lead back, yeah, I guess you could certainly.
I think Patrick Taylor probably gets some work, but yeah, AJ Dillon would be the guy. He'd be the goal line back. I would, but here's the problem that I have with AJ Dillon. He's overpriced.
True. Yeah, he's priced like a lead back. Like, you're not getting him at a discount.
Yeah.
An injury discount, like before knowing about Aaron Jones. Yeah.
I'd much rather have James Cook at basically the same price. I'd probably rather have Montgomery. I'd rather have Kenneth Walker. I'd definitely rather have Rashad White at 5,500. So I would consider AJ Dillon, but if he got steamed because Aaron Jones was out, I could see myself being very much underweight on AJ Dillon.
Oh, if he gets steamed, then yeah, I'm probably out too.
All right, let's talk about some wide receivers here. By the way, shout out to you guys. Almost at 100 likes today. Over 400 people watching on a Wednesday morning. And hey, if you guys are looking to get access to all of our tools for NFL, I've never been more excited for the tools that we have, because as somebody like myself, listen, not the sharpest tool in the shed. However, I could never go out there and just build out Sims tools like all of the best players do. It was never in a million years am I going to accomplish that. We got a lot of guys on this team that could, not me. But now we got a Sims tool where I am 100% capable of using this, and it is awesome. I know a lot of people feel the same way. The contest generator, easiest thing in the world to use. The Sims. Why do you think so many people hated that we came out with this? Because they didn't want the field to be leveled. You know what I mean? That's what it was. It changes the landscape, the game, when it comes to DFS. We've got those for NFL, and they're included in the package now. You don't have to buy them separately. The NFL Sims Max package or the NFL Sims data package, which is the same thing. You just can't generate as many lineups. All of them 15% off. We've never discounted the Sims before. 15% off. Links in the description and chat. You could do the week or you could go the month. Take that 15% off the entire month. You're also getting our ownership projections, our player projections, the top stack tool, the top single game plays tool, and ownership projection, everything for Showdown, right? You're getting the premium Discord. If you still like the lineup generator, which is awesome for NFL, you get that as well. Everything is included. You don't need to get any other thing to build lineups and then run them into the Sims. Everything you need to make good lineups is right there in that single package, which is why I'm so excited about it. Use our tools every week. Neil, you
I have to
clearly
admit,
use our tools.
yeah, I have to admit, when I saw our Sims tool, Offie, I had mixed feelings. I wasn't like, oh man, this is so exciting, because I play a lot of DFS myself. So from a company standpoint, it's like, wow, these tools are incredible. But from a competitive advantage standpoint, I feel like, man, it's going to be tough to beat a lot of people if they start using these Sims, because the tool is so good and so easy to use. Like, you don't have to be some kind of whiz. You don't need, like, our MLB product, great tool, but it did take a lot. Like, you had to be pretty smart to figure out how to build the field out. Like, that was the hard part. Like, you need to figure out, make sure you can build out a field of teams, and it was, a little bit complicated. Like, a dummy couldn't do it. But the NFL tool is just so straightforward, so easy. Anybody can figure out how to do it. I feel like the field is, if a lot of people start using the Sims tool, the field is going to get a lot stronger, a lot quicker. And the NFL is, I'd say, in general, the softest competition for DFS. Like, NFL, especially early in the season, you get a lot of players playing from their toilet, not really knowing what they're doing. But it's just so easy to use and so powerful. Like, it's just like the most advanced tool you can have, really easy to use, as though you are a pro player yourself. So I had mixed feelings from a playing myself standpoint. I hate it. Like, the field is going to get so much stronger if they use the tools, but obviously as a company man here at Stochastic, I love that we are coming out with the best tools in the industry.
Absolutely. Kevin Joseph asked if the Sims tool is legit. Anyone win with it this weekend? Our boy Jorge took 9th in the Millie Maker, which had over 1 million in the field. So yeah, for 10,000 plus. We had a bunch of showdown wins with the Sims, a bunch of main slate stuff. We'll be doing the Hall of Fame segment, Jordan and myself, later this week. Or guys, if you just want a free week of it, go over to Owner's Box. By the way, links to all of this in the description and chat. If you just want a free week of the Sims package, all of it, all of our tools for NFL, sign up at Owner's Box. Minimum deposit is $10. They have super flex contests. They have another huge prize pool this week in the flagship. I think it's $170,000 prize pool. You could do it that way too. Link to Owner's Box is down there. You sign up, you deposit, $500 max deposit bonus. So if you want to take advantage of that and you have the money sitting around, do that. And then you'll get an email from us in 24 hours. If you do it now, you're going to have access before the showdown slate tomorrow. So you can get that link in the description and chat, or 15% off. But Owner's Box, minimum deposit is $10. You go sign up, you get a free week of all of our NFL tools. That's another way to make it work. So however you want to play it, we got you covered. Links down there and in the chat. All right, so let's go. Let's do that. Cornelius says, exactly, Cornelius. And look, with football too, all you need is one big week with football. Yeah. All you need.
That's all you're really like hoping for. Like, if you get more than one big week, that's a huge thing in football.
Yeah.
Marcus Long says, what Neil thinks DFS players are dummies who play from their toilet. No, that's what I know DFS players are, but not the ones watching this show. If you're watching this show, you're at a higher level than your average NFL DFS player for sure.
Yeah, it's not an insult to you guys. It's an insult, and I know a lot of these people that I'm friends with. Like, they
insult. Like, they just don't take it that seriously.
Having fun, and they're making clearly minus EV lineups. They're making bad lineups, but they don't know it. That is like.
Not even dumb. They're not dumb. They just, like, they don't take it that seriously. They don't think about these concepts all week like we do, and like the people watching our shows do.
Exactly. I know what you were saying is not an insult. What you're saying more than anything is that, like, there are still ways to get an edge if you're doing it right. And that's all.
Yeah.
All
exactly.
right. So let's talk about wide receivers here. And thanks for getting us north of 100 likes, guys. God, we just lost 18 likes because of that comment.
Oh, no.
No, I'm joking.
People really insulted.
I at wide receiver, Jamar Chase is up top. Can I just say this Baltimore team? You want to hear the injuries? You want to hear the injuries to Baltimore? Most people are talking about J.K. Dobbins, right?
Yeah.
Listen to this, man. So they lost Dobbins for the season with the Achilles, but they also lost star safety Marcus Williams. He might miss the whole season with a pectoral injury. Ronnie Stanley and Tyler Lindblom, two starting offensive linemen in their center, are likely out this week, maybe more with sprains. Mark Andrews might still be out. Marlon Humphrey could be out. There could be some issues here. So Jamar Chase getting that ownership. Do I love it? I think it's fine. I'm on Russ St. Brown against Seattle. I know Ben loved him yesterday. I really like Diggs at 17%. Excuse me, against the Raiders. I think he bounces back in a considerable way. Most of these guys are interesting. CeeDee Lamb scares me against those Jets for sure. Brandon Cook would even more as on those outside. Like, I don't know how they're going to get it to him. Keenan Allen's at 11%. Mike Williams, pass funnel defense in Tennessee. I like that. So I don't mind a lot of these guys up top. And both San Francisco receivers getting around 10% and Ayuk and Debo getting 14 himself.
Yeah, I think a lot of these guys up top look pretty good. I'm with you. Obviously trying to stack them up where possible, but yeah, Jamar Chase, I think due for a bounce back spot. Maybe T Higgins. I don't know if we'll do the double stack there with Cincinnati, but looks like a nice spot for Jamar Chase. Definitely in there. Don't really know. Are you going back to actually first Stephon Diggs? Yeah, I'm with you there. Would you play Stephon Diggs with James Cook in the same lineup?
Yeah, I probably would.
Yeah, I think it's totally fine to play them both. I think it could be like the Bills coming off a bad loss. Wouldn't be that shocking to see them just keep their foot on the gas pedal all game and just really run up the score. And I think they could definitely have a lot of guys doing well there for the Bills.
I have no issues with it. Even without Josh Allen, I'd have no real issues with that, especially because James Cook was so involved. That was the biggest question for all of us. It's like, what is this split going to look like? Cook's played 60% of snaps. Cook's played 41 out of 69 snaps. Latavius Murray played 16. Damian Harris played 9 snaps out of 69 snaps.
Oh, really? Latavius Murray ended up playing more than Damian Harris. That's interesting. That was kind of unexpected. Not totally. Like there were some rumors that might be the case, that Latavius Murray could be the RB2. Kind of scared me away from drafting Damian Harris in best ball, but I didn't realize that it was that he actually ended up playing more. I thought that I'd seen Damian Harris out there more. That's kind of interesting. But yeah, James Cook seems to be the guy there. They were saying that they thought he could be an every down back before the season, and maybe he plays even more throughout the year. I guess we'll have to wait and see.
Here's my one concern. We didn't see any goal line opportunities for Buffalo. We don't really know who the goal line back is going to be. But
and there's also Josh Allen there, like regardless.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
But I still think Cook at 6,100 with their implied total and the spread, I still think if he's going to play 65% of snaps, I'm fine with that.
Yeah. And I mean, honestly, like, so I'm coming in with the assumption that James Cook is not the goal line back. He still could be, like, very much. They could just use him on the goal line, not feel any kind of need to take him out. So I would say it's almost like a bonus that we don't know, because that would just be extra reason to like James Cook if he ends up being the goal line back. What do you think of Davante Adams? I know we like these Bills guys. Davante Adams feels like a pretty easy run back there. Not the best defense to be targeting, but should be involved. Do you think you'd play Davante Adams as a run back in your Bill stacks, or is that even possible with how expensive these guys are?
I don't know. I haven't tried yet, but yeah, I mean,
tried it either.
Maybe the Josh Allen, Gabe Davis with the Adams run back would be easier. I think it's certainly possible. We saw a guy win, what was it, $50,000 or whatever in the 300K one, the single entry with Eckler, Hill, and Jefferson. So, it's going to be doable. Adams isn't my favorite. I still think this is a pretty difficult matchup. Jimmy Garoppolo, I think, is going to be serviceable. They protected him really well. He was only pressured, I think, 4 times last game. But I think they're going to do a decent enough job. Hopefully they do a decent enough job of protecting him. He's got a stiff test, though, against this Buffalo team. That's another issue. No issues with Davante Adams. I think the price point is fine. He was targeted, 9 times last game, but he's not a priority for me right now. We'll see where the ownership comes in. If he really is up around 15%, that makes me like him less.
Yeah, we've got him at 15%, 16% chance being optimal. I think I'm going to at least try. I'm going to try to make a lineup that has Josh Allen with Diggs and Davante Adams, see what I can make work there, because it'd be a fun, like, potentially very high-powered team.
Oh, absolutely. All three and Adams is so good that he can beat out any match. Like, he's awesome.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't. Yeah, the matchup, it hurts, but like he's still very capable. And I'm totally with Ben's take on Sun God, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Like, he's just going to have elite usage all year. Detroit offense looks pretty good. I think that he's going to be somebody you can play basically any week. I think Amon-Ra is in for a really nice year this year. So definitely willing to play him when the Lions have a 26.25 implied team total. Yeah, I'm in on the Amon-Ra train this year too.
I'm looking at a few guys that are getting a little bit less ownership and thinking, hey, that could be interesting. The one guy that I can say right now that I probably won't end up with much of, but I kind of wish I would, is DeAndre Hopkins. Uh, I think people are going to be low on him after last week, just assuming that he's like not good. He still was creating a lot of separation against
Yeah,
Marcus Lattimore
and getting
too.
targeted a ton.
What's that?
Huge target share too. Like he was getting separation, he's
Yeah,
getting targeted. Ryan Tannehill was a little bit off last week. No, I think that he's very much in play this week. Like the price tag,
38%
66.
target share last game.
Yeah, totally elite from that perspective. If Ryan Tannehill is just a little bit better this game, and a great matchup with the Chargers. Chargers were bad on defense against both the run and the pass last week. So I think that he's very much in play here as, you know, an elite pass catcher in a nice spot. And Ryan Tannehill, like he's been a talented quarterback throughout his career. I think he'll probably come back. So I don't hate the DeAndre Hopkins play at all.
Tannehill just stunk, man.
Yeah, but he's better than that. Like he's not that bad.
I hope not. I hope not. Yeah, because the guys that they've got behind him are not good either.
No, so bad.
Like, you know, you could spin it all you want. Excuse me. But Malik Willis and Will Levis are not guys that are going to get the job done either. So I'd still rather have Tannehill. But yeah, 2 of the interceptions that he threw were targeting Hopkins. One was underthrown by like 100 yards. And then the other one just wasn't Hopkins' fault at all. So whatever. But yeah, I think Hopkins, if we got him at 8% right now, is interesting. What do you make of, and I think, by the way, cheap guys, Josh Reynolds is fine in what should be a high scoring game. Tyler Lockett's 5% right now, Metcalf at 4%. I think that changes. If you wanted to take some stabs at mid 4K, Nico Collins, Robert Woods for Houston, they were both double-digit target guys, getting no ownership this week. Gabe Davis at 2%, solid. But what do you make of Christian Kirk coming off a game where he was scarcely used?
It's really hard to really want to target Christian Kirk. He's just, as you said, he's scarcely used. They're using him basically as the wide receiver 3. He's at 7% ownership, he's in play. Like the Jaguars should be putting up some points. So if you want to go to Christian Kirk, it's fine. But I don't think he stands out as somebody who's like a great play at 7% owned after seeing what we saw last week, where they just weren't using him. But they should be throwing the ball a lot against the Chiefs. They have a 24 implied team total, so they're, you know, fine on that front. The usage scares me. I think it's real. Like we kind of were hearing that coming into the year that, like, yeah, he's not playing in 2 wide receiver sets. Zay Jones is in there instead, and that turns out to be the case. Against this Chiefs defense, I don't think it's a very good defense, and the Chiefs offense is good. So it's like this game is set for potential fantasy fireworks. Like, wouldn't shock anybody if this game really blows out here, in which case, yeah, Christian Kirk can get there even on running 60% of routes, but not a slam play, because he's not out there enough.
Yeah. So let me ask you this then. If we were to kind of break all of this down, are there any other not cheap, could be cheap, doesn't matter, low owned receivers? For me, I mentioned Gabe Davis, if he really is that ownership to me, is a smash spot. Maybe people don't want to play him because his target share generally isn't that high. You know, as Ben mentioned yesterday, he's the type of guy that usually is going to average like 5-6 targets per game. And then a few times a season, he's going to single-handedly win you tournaments. $5,800 in this spot, I like. I mentioned Lockett. People obviously going to be down on Lockett after last game. Just absolutely
did he get
non-existent.
Yeah.
Those are kind of some of the spots that I'm looking at as people overlooking or reading too much into 1 week and just assuming that that's going to be what happens every week.
Yeah. There's always overreactions after week 1, so we'll be able to find some gems here. I'm probably overreacting and saying I have some interest in Zay Flowers at 5,000 after he was used like he's a wide receiver 1 last week, and he's 5,000. Baltimore is going to need to do whatever they can to stay in this game with the Bengals, so kind of interesting to me at 5,000 for Zay Flowers. Of course, doesn't look great in the tools, 7% ownership, 5% chance of being optimal. But I think that he's in play at 5,000. Zay Jones, actually, I mean, we talk about Christian Kirk. I think Zay Jones is the objectively better play. He's cheaper. He's out there more. He's 8% projected ownership, 11% chance of being optimal. So I think Zay Jones is very much in play, and a great matchup with the Chiefs for fantasy points. JSN, yeah, you could throw JSN in there, I suppose. Don't really know what to do with the New England receivers. We'll have to see what the ownership looks like on Saturday, but or Sunday morning. you could maybe play somebody from New England against Miami. Oh, sorry, they're not on the main slate. Aren't they on the
Who?
I think that they're on the Sunday Night Football slate, right? The Patriots.
Yeah, so there's 2 Monday night football games this week, which is awesome. Patriots are facing the Dolphins on Sunday. Yep.
Okay.
And then you got Saints, Panthers, Cleveland, Pittsburgh on Monday.
What about Jaden Reed? I mean, if Christian Watson is still out, would you consider throwing a dart throw at 3,400?
Yeah, I don't think it's
Jaden
crazy.
Reed?
I don't think it's crazy. I that's fine. Another one that I think is interesting, and I love that chat brought this up. A couple people were talking about Tank Dell. Noah Brown went to the IR.
Yep.
So you've got Nico Collins, Robert Woods. Tank Dell is the type of guy that, look, he's a diminutive receiver, to say the least. He's a little fella, but he could break one. And this matchup, while it's not the best, it's also not as tough as Baltimore. In Baltimore in week 1, Tank Dell ended up playing almost 50% of snaps in that game, played 48% of snaps. Noah Brown played 68%. You got Xavier Hutchinson that got worked in a little bit. I think Tank Dell could be like full-time role right now with Noah Brown on the IR. He's $3,200. That to me is one of those spots where I might just, pray to the football gods that he breaks one and play him at minimum salary.
Yeah, I think you could certainly play Tank Dell if you want to. I'm trying to figure out what I want to do with Giants receivers too. Like, do you have any takes on like if you're going to play him? Oh man, I don't think I agree with you.
I would just much rather play Darren Waller. That's what I would just rather play Waller.
Okay. I mean that, yes, Waller, assuming he's healthy, is pretty clearly the best play from the Giants receivers. But like I said earlier, I think that was a fluky game in week 1. I think nobody's going to play anybody from the Giants in week 2. And we talked about Saquon Barkley having a smash matchup. It's also a smash matchup for any of these receivers. Looks like the highest snaps we saw last week were Paris Campbell and Darius Slayton. Isaiah Hodgins not far behind. I think I disagree. I think that all of these, like those 3 at the very least, Campbell, Slayton, and Hodgins, are in play, all ran a significant number of routes last week. And if we assume that the Giants are better than they were last week, significantly better, which I am assuming, I think those 3 are in play at like negligible ownership, basically zero ownership. I think that you could at least, take some.
No, you're clearly right.
Yeah,
you're clearly right. Look, it's a very good matchup and they should bounce back. I'm not saying that at all, but Hodgins,
you just don't feel good about it.
It's just, well, it's also just like, now you have to figure out which one of those guys it's going to be.
Yeah.
On a team that I think could lean heavily on Barkley. I think Darren Waller's probably, I know he only played 54% of snaps in week 1, but that game, I don't know how much to take away from that. I do like, we'll talk about tight end right now, but Waller is interesting because we have him currently unowned. So yeah.
Do you think that's going to hold? I'm like, if we get confirmation that he's healthy, I would guess the ownership comes up. If it doesn't, yeah, Waller is an absolute smash at no ownership.
Yeah, for sure. But there's some cheap guys down there. There's a couple cheap tight ends I like. Tank Dell isn't going to excite anybody, but yeah, he's so cheap with Noah Brown out. We'll see. And Dalton Schultz basically just didn't get any opportunity. You would have thought that Stroud might lean on him, the veteran tight end kind of safety valve. That didn't happen at all.
Yeah, that is pretty. And he looks great. 4% projected ownership, 10% chance of being optimal in the boom bust duel. So Dalton Schultz, maybe he's in play for, try the bounce back narrative this week.
All right. You ready to talk tight ends and then top stacks here?
Yeah. Yeah. Let's do it.
All right. Let's get to tight ends. One more thing though, before we do, guys, if you want another free money opportunity, Caesar Sportsbook, I've said this a lot. Like they're trying to compete in the online space. They need to, because DraftKings and FanDuel run things as far as market share goes. They're doing a bet 50, get $250 in bonus bets. Very solid. You're getting 5 separate $50 bonus bets. 5 separate $50 bonus bets. Now, the good thing is you might go, oh, so I have to lose my $50 in order to get this. Otherwise, I don't get it. No, you could win your bet. Like, let's just say you take Atlanta money line plus 105 this week, which I kind of like, and you win with your $50 bet. Now you've got over $100 in your bankroll already. Plus you've got $250 in bonus bets coming your way. The season just started. This is less than a week. This promo goes away. I think it goes away on the 18th or something. And then they're gone for the season. These sports books run them heavy, hard into the ground as the start of the football season. And then they're mostly gone. Maybe you get something back for the start of NBA season, but it's football where you get the free money, whether it's Caesars or anywhere else. Fortunately, this one on Caesars is happening right now, and you guys are already on DraftKings and FanDuel. You're not at Caesars yet. Link in the description and chat for that if you're looking to take advantage of free money. Look, anywhere else in the world, someone says they'll give you $250 for 50. You're going to snap, take that immediately. Just turn your pop-up blocker off if you have one. I have one. I had to turn it off to get that link to work. Takes you right into Caesar Sportsbook. Bet 50, sign up. It takes 2 minutes. Bet 50 on whatever it is you like. Like I said, kind of like Atlanta. One spot, if I were to give a recommendation, now you can take it or leave it. I will not fault you for this whatsoever. No hard feelings if you disagree. I'm going under in the Cowboys and Jets game. I think this could be a very low scoring game, even if the Cowboys mop the floor with them. That's a spot I kind of like. I like the under in Baltimore and Cincy too. But yeah, $250 when you bet 50 over at Caesar Sportsbook. Take the free money, best kind of money, and also make sure you've got multiple books to place the best bets every single day. Caesar Sportsbook. Oh yeah, you got to be 21 years or older to gamble. If you were someone who has a gambling problem, please call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. Thank you. All right, let's talk tight ends, Neil. The highest owned right now, no surprise, Travis Kelce, assuming he's active. Luke Musgrave, 8%. That's just probably assuming that Watson is out. And then Mark Andrews, if he plays, 7%. But none of these guys are guaranteed to be back on the field this week.
No, it's kind of with tight ends, we really do need to wait for as much information as possible, because if all the elite tight ends are in, that's going to be a completely different conversation than if all the elite tight ends are out. So yeah, it's a tough conversation to have right now, and we just don't know who's going to be available for the main tight ends. But yeah, I think if one of these elite tight ends comes back, they're going to be a smash play. They're going to look just so much better than the field. If they're all out, then yeah, I mean, Luke Musgrave, he's in play at 3,200 regardless. Like, that's just the price is a little bit wrong there on Luke Musgrave. We saw that he's going to be very involved for the Packers, so hard not to like Musgrave this week. I think Evan Ingram, this is another way we've talked about all the other pass catching options for Jacksonville. Evan Ingram is another one that I think is in play. He looks pretty neutral in the tools, 5.6% ownership, 5.7% chance to be an optimal, but certainly a nice spot for Ingram. He just got paid, so I think he's going to be involved in this offense. And, you know, as good of a spot as you can hope for, I think, is facing the Chiefs for a pass catcher, because they're just going to be probably throw in to keep up with the Chiefs in this game. Lot of viable tight ends here, but really the conversation is going to change depending on who's in and who's out.
I had Ben try and guess the guy that I really like in this sub 4K range yesterday on the First Look show. I want you to take.
I'm gonna go with Sam Laporta.
Yeah, you were looking at chat.
No, I had just watched the show yesterday.
I like him, man.
Yeah, I do too.
Looks like chat has some interest as well. You mentioned that, yeah, you like him as well. This isn't like I think this guy's going to be amazing every week. He's a rookie tight end.
Right.
But also, it's not all that often that you've got rookie tight ends who are getting the snap share that he did and running as many routes as he did, you know, and just being on the field consistently like he was. I think he had an 18% target share in week 1 in a tougher matchup against Kansas City. Now you're facing a Seattle team that got gutted through the air. He's at 5% right now. Yeah, I will take some Sam Laporta at 3,900 in a game with a 49-point total. I'll probably take some shots on a 3,300 Dalton Kincaid as well. That one's a little bit murkier because you clearly have somebody like Dawson Knox out there. But you look at Laporta. Brock Wright played 39% of snaps. Laporta played 83% of snaps. That is not insignificant. And then with Buffalo, Dawson Knox played 84%. Kincaid played 80%.
Yeah.
They were both out there basically the entire game.
Yeah, it's good to see. If you drafted them in your season long or best ball leagues, yeah, they're very, very encouraging to see how much they're using the tight ends in Buffalo. Let me ask you this, Laffy. Do you think any rookie tight end, and I'm not going to make you choose one, do you think any rookie tight end finishes as a top 8 tight end in fantasy this year?
Yes.
PPR. Do you have an opinion on who it's going to be, or do you just think like one of these guys is going to, because there's so many good rookie tight ends this year?
If I had to, I would say Laporta.
Laporta over Kincaid?
Yeah. Yeah, because Laporta's involvement, yes, Kincaid played 80% of snaps, so he could be. It might be two of them. The tight end position
I know.
stinks.
True. Not a high bar.
But that's what I'm saying. Like top 8, yeah, I think from week to week we could be talking about these guys where a lot of times we wouldn't be.
Right.
So I don't know. We have to see how Darren Waller plays out in New York. There's a couple questions for sure. Dallas Goedert coming off a 0 catch game. I believe they will rectify that on Thursday, by the way, against your Minnesota Vikings. But
Dallas Goedert, somebody that I was counting on being a stud. I drafted him a ton for week 1 contests, and he just did not see that goose egg from Dallas Goedert coming. I've been expecting him to like take the next step forward if he can stay healthy this year. So that was
very
definitely discouraging. Yeah, but yeah,
but it won't last.
I think I don't think it'll last. Like they recognize that he is a talent, and now they're facing this terrible Minnesota secondary. So yeah, I think Goddard should bounce back this week, but obviously can't play him on the main slate.
Last year in week 1, Devonta Smith had 0 receptions.
Is that right?
And then in week 2, he exploded against the Commanders. Huge. Yeah, Devonta Smith had 0 receptions in week 1. And it's a team that has a lot of mouths to feed. What pisses me off is that they ran Kenny Gainwell all game. He's the most uninspiring back. I'm not knocking Kenny Gainwell, but he's fine. That's how I see Kenny Gainwell. He's fine. Yeah. Tough matchup against New England. I think that defense is going to be nasty, but he's fine. Right. I was so mad that Rashad Penny was inactive. Wouldn't you love him late in the game where you're trying to run the clock out?
There were rumors that that he might be a healthy inactive, and it was largely poo-pooed. Like, there's no way they're not going to be playing some of what's his name?
Boston Scott.
No. The third, not DeAndre Swift. Who's the Rashad Penny? Rashad Penny. I was just blanking on the name there. It was there were rumors that Rashad Penny might be a game day inactive, like he might be a healthy scratch some games, and largely the industry was like, no, there's no way that happens. So it was pretty surprising for me to see Gainwell take over as the RB1 week 1, but we don't have to worry about him this week because looks like he's going to be out tomorrow.
Yes. Isn't that something? Clayton said Philly will need to be on their game to overcome the greatest wide receiver ever to set foot on a field on the Vikings side.
100%.
Yeah, and you know what? That is true. Jefferson, when he faced the Eagles last year, dominated.
Is that right? I actually don't remember.
Yeah, absolutely dominated. A solid 6 receptions for 48 yards and no touchdowns. Yes,
okay. I thought you were doing a bit, but I wasn't. Like, for a second there, you sold me on it. All right. Well, it's different this year. He's gonna have a game tomorrow.
I just want Rashad Penny to get opportunities, Neil.
I think he'll be active tomorrow. I would assume
he's got to be. I've been a big Penny truther for a while now. You know, I've really always kind of loved that guy. And it's always been injuries, but then whenever he's healthy, he's super efficient.
Right.
I just want him to get a chance. If he sucks, I'll take my lumps. You know, I'm more than willing to admit I was wrong. Plus, you guys can just come back and watch anything I've ever done. But if he stinks, that's fine. Wouldn't you? I know you don't like the Eagles. I get that. But wouldn't you want to see, like, even from a fantasy standpoint, wouldn't you want to see him get a shot at running behind that Eagles offensive line?
I mean, absolutely. He'll be a smash if he ends up playing. It's a weird situation because, like, I'm with you. Like, I've always thought he's super talented, but then I'm like, well, Nick Sirianni clearly knows what he's doing. Like, he's a pretty good coach, I think. So, like, there has to be some reason that they decided that Rashad Penny was not going to be active in the last game. But yeah, it would certainly be fun to see how good he can be behind this Eagles offensive line. Yes, I hope he's not good tomorrow, but I think he could be due for a good season if they do end up using him a lot.
I want to ask you one more thing while we are talking about tight ends, and then we'll close this out with top stacks. All right. We had a question from, where is it? Where'd you go, fella? Hey, there we are. Quarter nickel dime grind DFS. What's up, man? Said, dart love. I guess he means like dart throw love for Michael Meyer, played 50% of snaps and Las Vegas should be throwing. Any thoughts on that? Cause he was basically a 0 last game.
Yeah, I mean, I think he made the case for it. Like, they should be needing to throw to keep up with the Bills. Mayer, 50% of snaps, not extremely inspiring, but also he's a rookie tight end coming in his first game. We could see that increase as the season goes along. So yeah, if you want to take that dart throw, it's not like not a smash for me, not an obvious play, but certainly could work out against the Bills.
Trying to see how many routes he ran.
Let's see.
Because he didn't, did he have a target last game?
Let's look it up.
I'm not sure. I mean, look, you do what you want with him, but I think there's a lot of other tight ends out there that are cheap that are pretty good spots. All right. Yeah, if you find that, let me know. If I mean, actually, I could just pull it up right here. Michael Meyer had no targets.
0 targets.
Yeah.
49% of routes.
Oh, he only ran 9 routes. Yeah, no, I don't want him.
He was playing behind Austin Hooper, actually.
Yeah, I'm good on that.
Snaps.
Snaps are only important if you're running a tight end, if you're running routes.
True.
He only ran 9. So
good point.
I'm good. Anyway, I want to know your favorite stack right now, not just like top stack probability, because our top stacks tool has all of that. Top stacks probability. If you guys, by the way, if you're getting the Sims package, you're getting the top stacks tool and ownership, all of our tools. It's not just the contest generator and the Sims for pre and post contest. But as far as all of these stacks go, I don't know if we've updated our top stacks tool yet for week 2, but are there any teams that jump off the page at you that you just want to get a lot of? Yeah, we're not updated, which is fine. Are there any teams you really like?
Man, I was inclined to say Jacksonville, but I see we actually have negative leverage on Jacksonville.
You can't look at, are you talking about the top stacks tool?
I am. I mean, it has all of the games included in it right now.
Yeah,
so
I don't
like
think
Monday
we
Night
can
Football.
take anything from that.
Yeah, I suppose that's fair. Maybe it's definitely a stack that I like. Just going to Trevor Lawrence with Calvin Ridley and Zay Jones, or Zay Jones and Evan Ingram. I think there are a lot of ways that you could stack up Jacksonville, and it could be pretty interesting. I think that could be a really high scoring game. I also did just one other. We didn't talk that much about the Bengals, but I do think Joe Burrow at 6.4% ownership. I think that it's real. Like he had such a dud that I think that not a lot of people are going to be playing Joe Burrow, and yeah, I think that it's at the very least kind of interesting. Like not a slam dunk play, but I'm interested in that one. Who do you like?
I like the Bills a lot this week. Josh Allen's going to be owned. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, and
but real quick, outside of Stephon Diggs, like I don't think Gabe Davis will be that popular. We don't have him in a lot of ownership right now. The 2 tight end positions, whether it's Kincaid or not, I don't think that's going to be all that popular. So I think there's going to be ways to get different. Even a James Cook, Josh Allen team, like I think there's ways to do that. I know he's chalky, but I really do like that spot for Josh Allen. And I think I wouldn't be shocked if this game, I don't want to say shoots out, but if Vegas puts some points up and keeps it remotely competitive. But yeah, Josh Allen to me is the one guy that if I'm looking at stacks, regardless of the popularity here, I really do like him a lot.
And I'm 100% with you, by the way, on Josh Allen playing a Bill stack. Yeah, it looks like a great spot. I was sort of inclined to go there, but I thought maybe it's going to be too chalky. But I think that they're in play regardless of, yeah, as you said, we're expecting a good amount of ownership there for Josh Allen, but I do think that it is completely warranted. Like it is, they lost. Like the fact that they lost makes me like them so much better in this game, because I do think that they want to just smash it, and I think Josh Allen could be in for a huge game. So yeah, 100% with you there.
And we've seen that team when they put their foot on the gas.
Yeah, exactly. They're just
it gets wild,
unstoppable. Yep.
Yeah. A lot of talk and chat about Seattle and Detroit. We got north of 500 people with us on a Wednesday morning too. So
thanks for joining us. Yeah.
Thank you guys. Almost at 150 likes. Hey, if you haven't done so yet, subtle reminder, take a second, 1 second, hit that thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. And you guys know, like I said, all our stuff's in podcast form, podcast exclusive. Shout out to Clayton. I saw earlier you talked about the single entry and 3max podcast strategy that we've been doing. I'm glad you like it, man. I'm glad you guys have enjoyed that type of stuff, because otherwise, what the hell's the point of doing it? You know what I mean?
That's right.
Also, before I get to this last stack, this last game that Chad is talking about, if you guys aren't rocking the Stochastic avatar yet, go to stochastic.com/avatar. Download that, use it wherever it is you play. DraftKings, FanDuel, Owner's Box being another one. You just signed up there. Maybe you bink a tournament, finish top 3 in a field of 5,000 or more. If you're using that avatar, stochastic.com/avatar, you just download it, you know, and then upload it wherever it is you play. Finish top 3 in a field of 5,000 or more. This could be in a nickel contest. It doesn't matter. You could win $100. And if you're top 3 in a field of 5,000 or more, you're getting a full month of all of our NFL tools, $199 value. So huge win there. And you're getting inducted into the Hall of Fame by yours truly. We do make a big spectacle out of it. Jordan puts it together and we throw it up every Sunday and every night in between Deeper Dive and Live Before Lock. So yeah, if you're not rocking that avatar yet, get on it, baby. All right. Seattle and Detroit. This game last year, as a matter of fact, won people literally millions of dollars. This game last year won people an insane amount of money. Unless I'm just completely misremembering and it's, like the Mandela effect here, I'm pretty sure that happened.
That absolutely did. I believe our own Alex Baker took down a Millie Maker that week. On the back of this game going completely. Yeah, I think that he had like 5 players from the game, something like that. He had just a ton of the Seahawks Lions game last week. So yeah, 100%. I like it. It is a great game. Once again, could be potentially really high score in here. I love Amon-Ra. If you want to play one of the secondary, tertiary options for the Lions, certainly in play. Who do you like from the Seahawks? That's I think that's going to be a weekly, like, who do you like the best? Who do you like? Yeah, all certainly in play.
I mean, really, I like Metcalf. I have no issues going back to Lockett. I didn't have much Lockett last week, but I will. I assume I'll have some if he's completely unowned. Kenneth Walker. I like Kenneth Walker.
Yeah, he was involved. He was running routes this week too.
Yeah, for sure. And the crazy thing is, what happens if Travis Kelce and is out and Mark Andrews remains out too? Does that mean that somebody like Noah Fant ends up being the Hayden Hurst from last week?
Absolutely could be.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you can stack up either side of this game, do a full game stack. Yeah, I like it. It's a good call up.
Pulling up the Millie from last year in week 4. I just want to see what the winning lineup was. So the winning lineup.
It was Hoop.
Yeah. How'd you pull that up so quick?
I just knew it. I knew that he won a Millie that week.
Oh, you remembered that?
Yeah.
That's pretty
cool. Because he had like 5 or 6 players like mega stack that game.
Yeah, it was a mega stack from this game, right? All right. So it was, let's see here. Oh, good. Computer froze up. Oh, here we go. All right. So it was Geno Smith, Austin Eckler, Jamal Williams, DK Metcalf, Josh Reynolds, Tyler Lockett, TJ Hawkinson, Josh Jacobs, and Eagles. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 players from this game. I think St. Brown was out, and I'm pretty sure Swift was out too. Swift was definitely out.
That would make sense.
Yeah. St.
48
Brown
to 45 that game.
What was it?
48 to 45.
Wow.
Seattle
Swift and Amon-Ra St. Brown were out. Yeah.
Okay.
And Donnie Basewell said in the mega, Alex won the mega Millie. Okay. Yeah. Right. Crazy week, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
So I'll go back to this game, not because of what happened in week 4 last year. It's also not going to be as easy to stack it because last year you had no Swift, you had no St. Brown. So it was like, oh yeah, Reynolds and Jamal Williams, that works. These guys, it's going to be a more expensive stack this year for sure.
Yeah.
And there's less clarity with that backfield in Detroit, but there's a lot of ways to do it. Before we go, any other spots you want to hit on for stacks? Maybe spots that you might think are going to go under-owned?
And we talked about the Giants. I brought them up when we were talking about wide receivers, but I think a lot of ways to stack the Giants. You could include Saquon in your stack. You could just do like dimes with Saquon and Darren Waller. If you don't want to play the wide receivers, a lot of ways to stack up the Giants. So I do think dimes is in play. Doing a little Giant stack. Obviously Lamar, I think, is still in play. There's a lot of ways that game could go, Baltimore and Cincinnati. But I like both of the quarterbacks there. Anthony Richardson, loved what we saw from him in week 1. Like, it's just really involved in the running game. I think he already showed he's going to be an elite rusher. So don't hate that. Yeah, a lot of games to talk about, but you and I will be doing plenty of shows. So I'm sure we'll call it more as we go, but we can end it there.
All right. Hey, follow Neil at Player Q DFS. Follow me at Loughie_D, LOUGHY_D. Where, Neil?
On Twitter.
On the X, baby. Shout out to
I said
Jordan
it for you
Klein.
yesterday. I can't give it to you every show.
That's okay. It was 2 days ago.
That's right. That is 2 days ago.
Shout out to Jordan for producing this one. Appreciate you guys as always. Fun show. Tell your friends about Stochastic Strategy Show. Tell them about the pod, all that stuff. If you want to do something nice for them. Other than that, we'll see you guys back here tomorrow. Marathon matchup show. Eric Lindquist, myself, breaking all of these down one by one with a fine-tooth comb. We'll see you here 11 Eastern tomorrow morning. Peace.